Hi, this is Breach and we are in my studio in Amsterdam. And today I'll just be talking you through a recent remix I did for Kelis. And we're going to sort of go into what elements I used with Cubase, talking about Retrolog, one of the synthesizers in there. We're going to go into routing drums out and then back in. And then also we will be talking about the drums using a PD controller, which is made by Steinberg, which is how I do all my drums. And then also go into some of the synthesizers I've used on the track, like notably the Juno. And we're going to talk about sending MIDI back out from Cubase to the Juno and back in. And then also some really interesting use of the new inversions feature on Cubase, which is for chords. And yeah, and just sort of show you a little insight into how I made the remix and some of the techniques that I've used. Been, touring for like 10 years now, I think, sort of as as a DJ and a singer. So I'm used to the sort of work that you get. But yeah, it has got a bit more mental, like this year for sure. And just like, I think it's what is hard about it is getting time in here. I mean, I've just come off like a 3-week like studio bender, so I've been in here like constantly going not going crazy, but I've just got so much to do in such a short space of time here, and this is where I create best. I like to be with all my stuff around me and like just be hands-on with it. And sometimes on the road that's hard, and I do miss that side of it. That's the only thing that sort of I would say was a downside, but on the plus side, obviously you get to play loads of gigs and amazing clubs, and see the people's reaction, and that's a brilliant thing to see, and what sort of keeps you driving on to do it. And I love DJing. I always have done. I've always been a DJ. Rather I started off DJing before I was producing, so it sort of comes a lot more naturally to me. Okay, so we're basically deconstructing a remix I've just done for Kelis. So yeah, and it's using the Retrolog synths in Cubase, which I used to make sort of the main line. So let's just take maybe like a couple of bars on her vocal, and then I'll sort of break down how I wrote the synth part. So let's just get like the verse. I just got used to my space. I don't know how to feel. Okay. This whole thing seems so good. I just got used to my space. I don't know how to feel. So yeah, so let's look at Retrolog and how I wrote the first line. Basically, yeah, I wrote a little line for her voice just to go along with her vocal. I just got used to my space. I don't know how to feel. And then added, basically just copied that synth, moved it over to another channel, set up a new MIDI channel for it, and then copied the sounds, which you can do in Retrolog here. If you go to here, you can save your preset. So I saved the preset as Kelis organ on this one, open a new one, copy the exactly same sound over. So you can hear it just gives it a lot more body and also melodic movement, sort of, it's like an upward passage. See where that starts, so the MIDI, it's like G, A, a C and a D, sort of just a rising passage to go up, and it creates more emotion as well. So then if we go into the actual sounds, you can hear it's kind of, I guess it's kind of like a sort of M1-y sort of sound, but with a bit more distortion on it. I mean, you can change, you can change all of the waves for the oscillator in there, which is great, but I think I just wanted like the sound was a bit more smooth, I guess, and with a bit more distortion. It was nice. So that's basically what I used to create these lines. It's very simple. It's a simple melody, but it kind of works, I'm just trying to think if there's any real changes. I don't think there are any major changes. That's it. Okay, so then that's for the body of the track. This is like the main line, and then I had a bass line, like a sub, kind of copying the bottom. So the bottom line of the retrolog that I wrote, I then just moved that to another synth and then created just a sub out of a sine wave, like real simple sine wave. If you just solo it here. It's all really simple stuff. I don't know if you can hear that. Yeah, that's just a sub. Simple sine wave, probably limited it a bit and compressed it, but I also mix my stuff all through sort of my analog hardware, so I've probably, I think I put this through the LA2A, I put like quite a lot of sub through that, and the Fatso is good for it as well. Yeah, so that's the bass line, and this runs throughout the whole track pretty much. So basically how I made the drums, this is like the mixed down version of the drums, which has gone through my hardware. So if you'd want to do, basically I compress my drums, you know, saturate them and warm them up with an Empirical Labs Fatso, and these are already processed. So to do that, just stop that. Basically, what you have to do is set up, obviously connect your hardware to your sound card, or how I do it is through a patch bay, which basically means that if you've got limited ins and outs on your sound card, a patch bay then opens up all of the possibilities to sort of have more connection between your hardware without having to have like so many ins and outs. And so that I've got a patch bay which is then goes into my sound card, so basically that enables me to use compressors with preamps or certain groups of compressors that if I so want to use them. I think on these drums is just a Fatso, so what I'll do is just solo the drums that have been processed here and then play the ones that are now going to be newly processed through the Fatso. But to do that you have to set up, you have to go to VST connections, and then basically on your sound card you have, I use an Apogee Ensemble, you have ins and outs on the back of that, so you just have to, I have a preset called Patch Bay which I load up, which is basically stereo outs all going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, 8 on the sound card, and the inputs exactly the same way. With Cubase you have to set it up all the time, so you have to make sure that's done. Otherwise you're not going to get a proper signal coming out. So the drums, I think, yeah. So you can hear, this is just the drums on their own, going to a Fatso, and after you've connected the connections, basically what's really cool about the new Cubase is the mixer window is really dope, because you've got everything on the left. You used to have to like drag this left and right all the time, and it was just a bit of, it was time wasting. So in the new Cubase 7 what they've done, which is really good, is create this window on the left which you can really quickly go to all or any of, you know, that's battery, for which I use for drums, which is by Native Instruments, and then any audio track on there you can just flick to really quickly, so it's like, you know, literally. And what you can then do, which is totally cool and saves me a lot of time, is you can highlight, say, that all of your drums, which is then what I've had to do, and you just right click and then link selected channels, and that will link like everything from battery. So for me that's really good, because if I'm starting a track with just drums, usually they're all up at the top, it's like smashing into the red, so you can just link them all and just bring them all down, which is really, really good, especially if you're mixing down as well. You know, when you've got all your tracks ready and it's ready to mix, you can just pull everything down and then just start, you know, you get all your headroom back and you can start nudging up and down. But basically this is really good because you can also do the routing. So if I just say OK on that, I can then come up to here, change this on the routing to say stereo 4, and it will just route the whole lot, which is probably what I did or would have done before. So it basically just then all your drums are coming out of the output that you want it to go out of the sound card into the compressor, and then back into Cubase. So yeah, so let's just like play with the compression a bit so you can hear what's going on with that. We can just ram the crap out of it. So as you can hear, that's like, I mean, that's super compression. But so that's probably like a bit much for what we're doing, because it's like if you're doing a radio edit, you'll probably take the drums a bit less. So that's a bit lashy. So let's like put it, yeah, that sounds pretty nice. So that's like without the fat, so that's with it, just using it on the bus compression setting. And that sounds kind of cool. So we've got that coming out, and basically I've set up a channel with into 3 and 4 on my sound card, so that will be stereo 2 as to where it's coming in. And then yeah, you just probably take that off monitor and then just hit the star button on your keyboard for Cubase, which is a little shortcut, little cheeky number. And yeah, then you can see that the audio is coming in there from the Fatso, so you basically then have to sit for 4.5 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, you know, have a little break, have a cup of tea, whatever you want to do, and yeah, you wait for that to bounce down, and then by the end of it, you've got like a track which is hopefully the drums are like much more compressed and, you know, and sounding a lot warmer, and then so I ended up with this version. Yeah, the drums. Basically, I use one of these little bad boys. This is the PD pad controller from Steinberg, which I integrate with battery to do my drums. Battery 4 is great. It's the new battery, and yeah, it's just, I don't know. For me, it's my favourite drum machine. You can control so much of it these days. And with this controller, it makes it really quick and easy for me to make beats. You know, I mean, I have Machine as well, and that's really dope. But for this, on the road, I can just put this in my bag and just, you know, if I need to be making beats while I'm on tour, I can, which is cool. So basically, yeah, the beat, which I've soloed, and we'll just break it down into parts, basically. Yeah. So we'll start with a kick, or the kick pattern, obviously. So yeah, it's a standard kick drum, which is from, I don't know where this, I think Zombie Disco Squad gave me this kick from somewhere. He gave me like a really good drum pack once, so you can all go and pester him for it. He probably won't give it out, but I got some good drums off him once, which were really nice. And then I just layer, I mean, I use a lot of sample packs. I've sampled like a lot of drum machines. I have like a Dave Smith Tempest here, which is really dope. And I sample drums, or I take them from sample packs, or even like the new battery sample pack is amazing. The sample library is really good on there. So, you know, they've got so many 808s and 909s and stuff like that. So this is basically just a 909. I'll get a 909 or an 808 as my sort of lower kick, and then add something on the top like a 707, and I use like the engine in here is really cool. You can change it from standard to vintage, so that's just, you can hear I use the SP1200 emulation's really nice in here, just gives it a bit more bite sometimes. So that's the kick. Clap. Which clap am I using? Yeah, there. So I basically every time just, so if we wanted to record that pattern in through this, so in Cubase it's so simple. So I've just basically deleted that just so you can see how I make my drums. Just press record. So there, you've got the MIDI. Press Control A to grab them, and then Q just to quantize them. And then hopefully you've got yourself some nice claps. I just copied the MIDI parts along there. It's pretty simple stuff, but for the beginners, I guess you need to know stuff like that. Yeah, so the claps are in, and then I'll have thought, oh, get a bit of movement. What about a tambourine? So just on the ones, so simple. Just, you know, really simple line. Where are they? The all-important hi-hat. Okay, there we go. So basically, how I get a lot of like some shuffle on the tracks that I make is I mean, you can quantize. I think these are like a little bit off. Like, I tend to just pull things off manually. A lot of people use the quantization, you know, they'll set up their own ones, which you can do here. Open quantize panel. I mean, this is quite an interesting feature of Cubase as well. So if I wanted to just take this hi-hat pattern, I press Control A to grab it all, and then you can just put the swing up on the hi-hats there. You can hear they've got like a little bit more swing. You can go really crazy with it. But like maybe keep it down to like 20. I mean, personally, I don't really use that feature. I tend to just pull things off manually myself and hear it with my ear. I think that's a better way to do it for me. So I think these will just be pulled off, these little sort of those little ones there. I think I pull those off to get a bit more swing. And then I've got just a 909 sample that I use as well, just to give it a bit more. Sorry for turning it up. Give it a bit more of a swing, you know. So those are the drums, I believe. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I moved to Amsterdam just to get a new musical perspective, basically, and get, you know, sort of involved in a scene and just sort of be around a lot of stuff. I mean, here there's some amazing clubs like Trow, which is just wonderful, and to just be around my friends like Cinnamon and people like Tom Trago, all the Rush Hour lot. I mean, people like Gerd was here last week. You know, all the Clone Records guys. I kind of just really loved that music and wanted to immerse myself in it in a place where I could get away, and the airport's really good here, so that's good for travelling. I miss London terribly sometimes, but it's just here. It's like, yeah, no one knows me. You just sort of like slot in, and I can come down here and work and be away from all the madness, you know. And it's nice to come and do that when you've got time off from touring, to just come and make music. And yeah, I've got a really nice studio by the canals, so life is good. I think, you know, the projects intertwine, you know. I mean, like on Jack, I did the vocal on Jack and stuff like that, so people sort of like, they do cross over, and I will sort of be singing again as Ben Westbeech at some point for sure. And I do certain collaborations. I just did a thing with D-Tron, which is really cool. And I do certain things, and I sing on beach tunes in the studio, but you wouldn't know it was me. Do you know what I mean? Well, yeah, when making Jack, I didn't know, you know, it was initially made as a B-side for a Dirty Bird record, so there was no intent or sort of, yeah, I didn't mean for any of that to happen, and it was, you know, the tune was already out, and then Atlantic came and licensed it. And then, yeah, it came out again, and then did what it did. So it was, you know, it's completely out of the blue. And I think a lot of people, and then think like with my new tune, I made that before I even made Jack. So it's like sort of people, and then sort of people like, oh, you've gone really commercial, and you're like, dude, I made the beats before I knew any of this would happen, you know. And then what I'm doing now is, you know, making stuff on house and just sort of going back to all the music that I want to make, and sort of just having done the DJ kicks, it's sort of going back down that route, and then, you know, making sort of stuff for Atlantic as well. I think if you constrict yourself to like one thing, you know, it's just, some people can only do one thing, and that's like, and they're amazing at it, and that's really cool. But I think it's like it's good if you've got the ability to do other things, to push yourself in different areas and not just do this one thing. I mean, I want to, you know, go into producing bands and stuff like that. It's kind of where my heart's set on at the moment. So yeah, for me, all my stuff will just remain in Cubase, and I'll do all my editing in there because I just love editing audio in it. I think it's really quick and just makes super sense. So yeah, as the track sort of gets into its sort of, it's not explosion stage, but if it sort of gets a bit more emotional and you want the, you know, the people to feel the emotion. So I added some synths, a synth line I played off the Juno, and this is it here. So if you hear it coming in, you can like hear it like filtering up, because what I do is I'll play the MIDI in through the Juno and then have it sent back out to the Juno, and then I'll mess with the, you can hear that's the filter going up. Basically on the Juno, it's a really hands-on synth, and you can just, yeah, you can get loads of crazy sounds of it. That's just opening the filter, just to sort of bring it into the track. Let's get the drums. Yeah, so straight out of the Juno, back in, probably recorded through the Neve as well. It's just... I mean, we could even just, like, just while we're here, just say, like, add another line. So let's just say that's sounding quite nice. So let me just get some MIDI coming out of here. It's an old Juno, I think, with like a really old Kenton built into it or something, so you have to press a little red button, and I can never remember the ones to press, but that seems to work. So what we're going to do is just add another line as we do this, just in case we want to just add another one. So then I'll just record the MIDI. So let's add that, let's get spacey and just add that in there. And then we can change up the sound on the Juno, but then I can show you sort of how I would work if this was what we wanted to do. So then I have to turn the MIDI back on. Why aren't you working, you little bastard? Right. Always swearing at my computer. Right. There we go. Every time, the same thing. I never know how to work it. Right. Okay, so it's quite a spacey sound. Add a bit of LFO. Yeah, that's kind of cool. It's a little bit ghosty, a little bit like Japanesey sound. It is quite cool. I like that. Okay, so if I like that sound, then I'm gonna add a track to record back into Cubase. So you do it as so, and on your patch bay, if you have one, you want to go, so this is going into my Neve preamp. So basically, yeah, it goes Juno into the Neve, out of the Neve, and then into, I have it coming out of my monitor station because I listen to synths and stuff like that out of my monitors first. There's definitely no latency because you can sometimes get latency coming back in. But I like that, so I'll put that into 3 and 4 of your sound cards, And on here, hopefully this will work. Yeah, you can see it coming in there as audio. So I like the sound of that. What I'll do, I'll just record it. Simple, straight in. Yeah, you can see the audio going in nice. Okay, so that's in as audio. And say if I wanted to build on this, what I'd probably usually do is create another audio track, same in 3 and 4 or stereo 2. And then what you can do with Cubase, which is quite interesting with the MIDI, here it is. Okay, and what, so I kind of didn't like that third one, that sounded a bit weird, so what I'm going to do is just move that note down and keep that on the same, just keep that in the same place. Do the same for the third batch. But what's interesting about the new Cubase is that you can highlight, say, let's highlight this chord, so it sees, you know, what it is. It's an F, you know, a B flat or F major. And then what you can do, you can press this inversion button and it will just invert the chord or parts of the chord. So it's really cool because you can come up, say if you come up with a quite a, you know, sort of usual chord pattern like that, you can use this inversion tool to sort of make, yeah, just different inversions of chords, which is of course how you make, you know, interesting chord structures. So you can hear that one, we'll just put it down like, it can create lots of different tensions, you know. So with that one, we'll take, and this next chord coming up is the same chord. So look, we'll just do an inversion, like, you know, because instantly it's like, it's that, you know, your shoulders are going, you're getting your funk face on. It's pretty cool, you know. So yeah, and we'll do this one, like maybe a different inversion. Yeah, I mean, that sounds really interesting because look, you've got these, I mean, I think a lot of my music, I have one note, just will carry on through the whole chords structure. So let's listen to this. You know, I mean, it's not, you know, completely conventional, but that kind of sounds nice to me and works, you know, and you can come up obviously with all these different, you know, patterns. But I think it's, if, you know, I mean, I can play the piano, I mean, but I'm not, you know, amazing. And so it's like nice to, when you're don't have, you know, amazing keyboard abilities, to be able to just dip into this and then come up with like a much more interesting inversion. And then you can also just add notes MIDI, but say, so that's like, that sounds nice. We could maybe do, so that one we've done like down, or we do another one down there. Maybe put this one up like quite high. Put that up one, and then finish like on a high to go into the sort of next section of the song. So let's just hear that as a run, and then. You know, I mean, it doesn't sound like particularly amazing right now, but with like, you know, you just play with the Juno a bit and you've got a nice line on top of something that you didn't have before, you know. You know, whatever sound you want to get in there, you can obviously get it. And then I could also send that MIDI then to, you know, any other soft synth or any other synth that I want to use. But that's an interesting feature for me.